We're alive. I'm only gonna sing my response tonight. Yeah.
Every response you're gonna sing.
I'm only gonna sing. I'm just gonna sing to you. Where's my footstool? Oh, there it is.
Serenade me. All
Guys,
right.
we're gonna jump right in.
We're jumping right in.
Jumping right in.
Look at us. We're tired tonight.
Tired.
We're just keeping it real with you.
Kids' life is crazy.
Well, check it out. Hi, guys.
Ashley, Megan, Brandon. What's up, y'all?
Good to see you. Hi, guys. So, we're having a shorter discussion tonight because we're just keeping it real. It's been a long day. Ashley, you are the Energizer Bunny, so you would know. You would know. Tonight's discussion, how do you put your spouse first? How do you know you're doing it? How do you keep on doing it?
Yeah. Well, let's start with how you know you're not doing it. It's called the first 5 years of marriage.
Yeah, we didn't.
This guy.
It's true. What the heck? I'm just kidding. You pulled it.
I don't know. I always said I was a selfish person. Because I was single for so long. I got married when I was 30-ish.
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 32-ish.
32-ish. Yeah.
You're an old man.
I know. And I realized that.
Not me. I'm young.
I was insanely selfish. I knew that going into marriage, but about 5 years in, I realized, oh wow, I'm the most selfish person I've ever realized. And I think that's because I was next to a person who selflessly put my needs above her own. And so I watched that real time. And it was, I mean, I came to some eye-opening moments when I realized you just give and give and give of yourself.
Thank you.
And so I learned by someone who did it naturally, which was a hard wake-up call for me when I did realize it, because it forced me to answer some honest questions about how I was going to change. Because of the behaviors and the pattern in my life that the way I was living, forced me to, have a come to Jesus moment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'd say since then things have definitely changed.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You are, the most selfless person I know now, for sure.
Yeah, but how do you put your spouse first? What does that even mean?
Yeah, what does that even mean?
So think about that as we're talking, what does it mean to put your spouse first? And
feel free to write in.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Feel free to write in what that means for you, right? So we always say, our definition is not the right definition. It's just what works for us. And so we just share a perspective. We're not sharing a definitive in any way. So, and we know that. We know you're going to have a different way of doing it, a different style, which is awesome. Brandon wants to know, in what ways were you selfish?
Well,
that's a great question, Brandon. That's deep.
Okay.
That's deep.
Fine. Here you go.
Here we go.
I'll give it to you. When we, as we were dating going into marriage, I came up, I was restless in my career when what I was doing, and I felt through a lot of prayer. We both did. This was like a unified decision that I was going to go get my master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up, 2 weeks after getting married, we ended up moving down here to Virginia for me to start my master's program. And for those 3 years, she supported me. No ifs, ands, or buts. There wasn't a question. If I was at whatever for school, she was supportive. Not one time can I even think did she ever say, "Baby, what about date night?" Or what about, honestly, when I think back on it, I don't think there was date night. It was pretty cucky. It was bad.
It was just all about what you were pursuing.
It was just all about what I was pursuing, and it was not a healthy frame of mind. But it didn't end there. It's because I'm so passionate, and if you're passionate about anything, you're going to be driven and goal-oriented and want to chase after those things, which are all good. But when you're married, the approach to it has to it has to be a little different. If you're, well, for us, the approach had to be different. So that was one way.
That was one area you were selfish.
That was one area. And honestly, I was kind of selfish and like, well, this is what I'm doing for God. Let's just be honest.
Which can be confusing at times. Yeah.
This is what God has called me to. And for a long time, I chased after my calling, thinking like, this is what I have to do. I'm called to do this.
And if I'm called to do this, then she's being put first too, because it's good, because it's for God.
Right. But over the last couple of years, I've come to, regarding calling, I've come to a spot where I'm not chasing my calling as much as I am seeking first the kingdom of heaven here in this relationship and saying, okay, God, what do you have for us? So I kind of hold it loosely in the palms of my hand, which has helped me reorient to put her first in order of operations.
And you have become a far better husband and lover because of it, quite honestly. Just being honest.
Did you hear that? She said, lover.
Lover.
I am a good lover.
He's a much better lover. It's true. Lindsay, I want to touch on your comment because it's getting some awesome responses. So Lindsay said, I will just say that we struggle in putting the other first in the area of discussing feelings. Yes. We have to work on putting aside the need to be justified. Oh, man. I'm so glad you guys are coming to the June 30th event because that's definitely something we talk about. We cover this. And that was one thing that came to mind for Tony and I is in doing this topic is really, it's a little bit of a teaser because there's so much of this is woven throughout the day for a Second Mile Marriage event of how to, the actual how to. So we're kind of talking about it, but the real how to is going to be exposed at the event with some really practical exercises about how to talk about your feelings. And so we'll give you some teaser answers to that, but I think you're totally onto it. And I see like Liz and Janine, you and Holly, like, I mean, all of you are saying yes, Lindsay.
I would say this, in the area of discussing feelings, so if you're not coming to our event, just think of it this way. It is important in a relational level to let the other know what you're thinking. So you start there. Because that's easy. It's hard sometimes. The heart is scary because it's this thing of feelings, and we're like, what does it mean? Unless you're oddball like me, that's where I live. I live there. Now, my harder part was I could tell you what I'm thinking, but I didn't want to tell you what I was feeling. But start there, and then you can kind of dig through the think, well, what do you mean by that thought? And then that might help get to a feeling.
It's so hard to answer this without kind of giving away a big part of what we're going to talk about. But I guess I just want to hit home. I think when you're discussing feelings and you're trying to put your spouse first, you have to keep in mind that marriage is a team sport. You have to keep in mind that although our human nature wants to feel like we've been heard, especially women. Like, I don't need you to fix it. I just want to know you heard me. I don't need you to fix it. I just want to know you understand, right? So like, and I think men feel that way a lot too. I definitely see that in counseling.
Can I say that again?
That I don't want you to fix it. I just want to know that you heard what I was feeling. Or I don't need you to problem solve it. I need to know that you care.
So annoying. It is because we're just, guys are wired to fix things. It's what we do. We fix things. We're problem solvers.
Well, a lot of women are problem solvers too.
I mean, yes.
Yeah,
we're problem solvers from a network standpoint, from like a mastermind grand scheme of things. We're problem solvers, and the car has a flat tire. I'll just change the tire.
Yeah. Yes.
Getting
back to my point. Yes. Getting back to my point. I think one thing that I do when Tony and I are having a conversation is, and it's a hard conversation, and I feel my feelings coming, and I just need to know that he understands. And I know that I need to put his feelings first as well, or put him first in that moment. But everything in me says, I want to be justified in what I'm saying. I want to be vindicated even in what I'm saying. I recognize that feeling as sin. So I don't know, that's weird. That might be weird, but this is my personal approach. Like, I have to validate that. Like, in myself, I have to have this alarm system. So I guess this is me. I've just lumped it into my group of like, be careful, Adele, you're like trespassing into sin. And so because like for example, like I'm walking through a store. Ooh, I really want that shirt. Well, that would be sin to steal it. It goes off on my radar, right? Like, so I've programmed myself to trained my brain to say, when those feelings happen, I just want to be justified. I want to be vindicated. I possibly am tiptoeing over the line to where I'm going to sin. And so for me, that's my first warning signal of like, crap, we're not going in a good direction. This isn't a good place. And I also have made a personal decision that I don't ever want to do anything that's going to cause my spouse to sin. So if I don't want to sin, and I don't ever want to do anything that's going to set him up to sin, because we're together in this, then that kind of just helps me with how to guide my feelings and to take a breath, tone it down, and listen to him and consider what he's saying, because I need to believe he has my best interest in mind. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's part of how I program myself to navigate that, so I can put my spouse first with feelings.
Yeah.
Let's see what some people are saying. You guys are talking. I love it. All right. Brandon, April had to tell me when we had our first kid that her whole life changed, but I was still doing ministry, out to eat with people. It took a few years to really step up, and I'm still learning. I value your honesty. I mean, that's...
Yeah, that was me. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. It's amazing how you can be in ministry and you can both love what you're doing and you can be so freaking lonely and yet love your spouse.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So good for you that you're still on that journey.
Holly says, I feel like loving unconditionally is sometimes hard.
Yeah,
yeah, I know.
Wait, I am so easy to love unconditionally.
I'm talking about Jack, my dog. I'm talking about a dog. He just barks at me. It's crazy.
He just never stops.
Yeah.
He always needs you to listen.
Yeah.
And feel what he's feeling.
I think kind of to go back to what she said about believing the best in your spouse has been revolutionary for me to not doubt for 1 second that she believes the best in me.
But can I pause on that for a second? I think there's lots of relationships where there hasn't been enough evidence and healing where that can be really hard to choose to do.
Okay, so you establish some common goals
mm-hmm.
for your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you have a base to go back to.
Mm-hmm. That you're agreed upon, that you're talking about regularly, this is part of what we talk about on Saturday. So we'll break that down.
Yeah. Because when you're unified on some things and you have you're rock solid on some things, you gain momentum
mm-hmm.
on the other things. And it really does build a fortified barrier so that when you do come up into a moment when you don't want to unconditionally love them, you have some solid, like you just said, you building history.
Mm-hmm.
So
evidence. But I also think, Holly, you may bring up a good point too, where you say it's maybe not unconditionally, but rather remembering all the things all the time, good or bad. And I think that, as women in particular, we often look to men to erase that habit for us. Like if he gives us enough evidence that there's change or that hurt won't occur again, then I can choose. Therefore, it would be easier for me to let go of those things. But it's really not. It's really, God has really woven us with the ability. Women are very bright, very strong, and very intelligent and powerful beings in the kingdom. And we are woven with the ability to choose to let go. We can choose forgiveness. We can choose to, when a memory pops up, when a feeling or an emotion pops up that we've felt before, to call that out and take that thought captive and say, I will not let you reign in this moment. Just because I've experienced this before, it doesn't mean it's going to determine our future. It doesn't mean I have to treat my spouse in a protective stance. It doesn't mean I can't put them first because they haven't given me enough evidence. So it's a personal decision that we have to make, that then you also hopefully at the very same time are partnering together to build history and build evidence.
And I think guys are the same. That's not just for women, that's for guys.
I'm just trying to tell women that they are beautifully woven to do this. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say.
Guys, we're beautifully woven to do
Don't
it
use
too.
my language.
Okay.
Pick your own
We'll
words.
do like Pastor Steven said this weekend. Because be humble. Because it sounds really good for, like, if this were 300, I got a kick out of that.
Some people watching were not at community church this weekend. They don't know what you're talking about.
Well, anyway.
You
should go because it's pretty cool.
Oh, Lindsay, she says, yes. And there is also a separation between I understand and I agree. Ooh, good point. Good point. That there's a separation between I understand and I agree. Yeah. So that's, I think you need to speak. Can I help break this down?
Yeah.
He needs help right now.
I know where you're going with it.
Go there. Go. I release thee.
You're not going with the, I understand, but we agree to disagree.
No.
Okay, you're not going.
I'm not going there.
All right.
That's for June 30th.
All right. Where are you going?
I'm going to the part where you've kind of figured this out. You've like evolved in this area where like you know that I don't need you to agree. I need you to understand. And you play back to me what I'm feeling. Whereas a lot of times guys will be like, you don't want me to fix it? Fine. And then the conversation's over. But you don't just make the conversation over. You'll actually stay present in the tension to give me that affirmation that you understand. Even if it's you don't agree with me, you've found language to communicate to me that you will try.
Yeah. Give me an example.
I don't know right now, but you do it in every fight.
I would say, yeah.
Why?
I do stay present in the tension because I'm okay with, because I do want to understand where you're coming from. It's easier to just kind of say, okay, fine, I agree, fine. But that's just being passive, which ends up becoming passive aggressive for me. So it's better if I press in and figure out.
You did that a lot in the beginning.
Do what?
That passive aggressive. Yeah, fine, I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't do it. I don't do it if I'm operating healthy. I don't do it.
No.
Right.
If you're operating healthy.
Oh.
If you haven't had a good nap, you can.
No, I think the key is for me, and I don't know if this is for other guys or maybe girls too, but it's figuring out where are they coming from? Like get inside their head, ask questions. Like where are you? What's happening in your thought process that would get you to arrive at why?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what were the two things what are the thoughts? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about when you say to me, what my dad used to say to me, I don't understand what you don't understand. Like when we're having I need him to understand. And he's like, I don't understand what you don't understand. Like, this is not helpful. That's not helpful right now. Sorry, we're probably not being helpful right now. Let's move on. How much does being an only child play into selfishness in a marriage? Ooh, that's a great question.
There's lots of responses there.
That's loaded. That's real loaded. So there's some really good, Dr. Siegel has a really good book out there on birth order that if you're interested in that, I would definitely recommend that. I think there's a lot to be said about birth order for sure. And I think it depends on your parents' parenting style as well if you were an only child.
So you collect your thoughts on that for a second, then Dr. Schmiegel. I'm going to say that.
Siegel, Dr. Siegel.
Whatever. I'm sure he's great.
It's a good book.
I'm sure he's great. I'm the oldest of 5, and I've found that I'm probably the most selfish of my family.
You think?
I do.
Interesting.
Yeah. And maybe that's just maybe I'm overly critical of myself.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I mean, not to say if your other siblings are watching, not that one of you is selfish. I'm not saying that.
So I don't know, Brandon. Maybe there's something to it, but there's definitely a lot in how your parents parented us.
And there is some evidence, research out there that suggests only children have a hard time empathizing. And empathy is a core value to a healthy attachment. So I'll just, from a brain psychology perspective, just throw that there.
No,
doesn't mean it's right.
I'm with you.
There's some research there. Okay. Amanda, my husband is the only child and is learning selflessness after many years of marriage. See, there you go. Look, other people are answering this. I love it. That is so incredibly hard to do. Beautifully woven. You guys are funny. Let's see. Okay. All right. So what I want to talk about before we end, because I know we said we're going to do a short one tonight, but how do you, like this is a question and I want you guys to write in, how do you practically, like tangibly, intentionally put your spouse first? So we know that there are times when it's undeserved, which is why our organization, whatever you want to call it, is called Second Mile, because it's based on that concept of going the second mile with someone when it's not wanted and you don't feel like it and it is undeserved. So how practically do you do it, either when it's undeserved, when you're caught up in a feeling, or how do you do it just maintenance-wise, routinely, right? We take our cars in for oil changes. How do we do it in our marriage when there's so much being pulled at us? And so do you have any ways that you now, like you can say, yep, this is one thing that I intentionally do to put her first? What is it?
I try to always make you breakfast in the morning.
He does. For 2.5 years. Y'all ladies are going to hate me because I'm spoiled, but for 2.5 years, ever since India was born, he has made my breakfast pretty much every single morning.
Try to.
Yep. Because I'm a working mom and it's hard. And he knows that I will take care of the kids or him before I take care of myself. So he makes me breakfast. Yeah.
I also want you to use your mind. So I routinely ask you, how are you carving out time away from kids?
Yeah.
Well, the last few weeks has
been brutal.
I've not done good, but
it's been great.
That's a way. Because I want to be interested in what she's interested in. She has shown me from a lot of experience, so I have this to go on, that she's been interested in the things that I'm interested in. So I want her to know that I'm also interested in things that she's interested in. So I want, like, what are you writing on? What are you thinking about right now? So
what is God speaking to you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah, you do.
We got Heather. What is Heather says? Helping him do the things that he needs to get done when I have 1,000 things.
Oh, that's so good, Heather. Yes, helping him do the things that he needs to get done when I have 1,000 things on my list to do. That is really good. Yep, I love that. That's hard, especially as a mom. That's really hard because I think as a mom in our head we justify that our husbands should just understand that they can't come first anymore. Which is dangerous thought trap. So I love that you're intentional about that. That's cool.
Amanda says I serve him food before the kids.
Give him back rubs after hard days. Makes me coffee every morning. I'm thankful for that one.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. Yeah, I love it. I love how also it can be the small things. It doesn't, putting your spouse first, how to put your spouse first doesn't necessarily mean the big things all the time. It's really is in the consistent small things.
Small details.
Yeah. Melanie said, I put his bath towel in the dryer and get him a warm towel when he gets out of the shower. Dang, girl. Even though as a mom, I'm super busy. Oh, mate, Tony, don't get any ideas.
You take that note?
I just make sure you have clean underwear. Literally, I figured that out 5 years into our marriage, that which I've not done, so I'm just really not good at it.
I don't. We'll talk about that.
I'm really bad at laundry. Help. If anyone has any suggestions, he would feel a lot more loved if he just had clean underwear regularly. I love it. Okay, good. So something that I do with Tony is I think when I met Tony, and so two things come to mind. You're like a big picture kind of person. So small things, I'm like a small things person. So like small things, I'll be like, did you notice I swept the floors? And he's like, yeah, great. They needed to be done. But because you're a big picture kind of person. And so you feel like you're being put first when someone's coming alongside you and is supporting you, right? So when I first met Tony, one of the things I noticed was like, oh, this guy like just really needs a partner who is going to believe in him and tell him regularly, because I think somewhere in your raising, there was this mixed message that if you tell yourself you did well at this, or you tell yourself that was good, you're not being humble. You're being boastful or prideful in some way. And so I think that is not a bad thing to teach someone, but it's also can really stunt them as well. And so part of what I try to be intentional about, even as we get older and we have kids, is that I'm verbalizing to you when I see you stretch yourself, or when I see you do something that had an impact in someone else's life, or I see your artistry growing, or and so really watching for opportunities to affirm in you that that part of you is still valuable and it's useful for the kingdom, and that it changes it changes my life, it changes other people's lives, and like I want you to know that. And so that's part of how I intentionally put you first.
You do it really well, because it makes me feel like that you believe in me.
Yeah.
Which, ladies, this is probably something that all men need more of, to know that their women believe in them.
Yep.
It probably is like right neck and neck with the need for respect.
Yeah. I would say it actually, I don't like the book Love and Respect. But I think it is above it. Just from 10 years of counseling with couples, I think men really deep down desire to know their wives believe in them. Really do. And that translates into respect, the belief, maybe. But it's less about acting out and respecting and more about belief and affirming.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Lindsay said, understanding that Carlos needs time to hang with the guys and supporting him going out when I know I need it. Yes. Yes. I was not very good at that, though, probably in the beginning. But I think maybe now more than ever, you're like, do you mind if or so-and-so would like to? And I'm like, yeah, go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go. You got to go do those things. That's good, Lindsay. Minna said, words of affirmation is so hard for me too. Yes, I know. If that's not your love language, it's hard, but man, it fills that cup. So I get, who is it? Yarkovich's. Okay. So the book, How We Love, we've talked about it before, but if you go to their website, howwelove.com, they have a soul words list. And their list of soul words are really helpful for people who struggle with words of affirmation, because you can check out that list and kind of creatively combo words instead of just being like, good job, babe. Like, you might actually be able to speak to their heart. So that's just a little helpful hint there. Yeah. Okay. So did we miss anything? I think we got everyone's comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for all your comments tonight, guys. These
awesome. It was fun to see you and read where you're at too.
Yeah.
Some really good practical ones. Don't get any ideas about your towel.
Okay.
You're just lucky if your towel doesn't smell, because I didn't let it sit in the washing machine wet for a really long time. I'm sorry.
No, but you let my clothes sit in the washing machine.
Send help. I need help. If anyone has any tips about
been
laundry.
If anybody's been on stage with me when we're doing worship, that like, what's that smell? Oh, it's just Pastor Tony's t-shirt.
Just Pastor Tony's t-shirt.
Me and Drew Wall had the same thing. We both talk about it. Because
I forget. I have ADD, if you can't tell. So I forget that it's in the wash and it's done. And then I hope he doesn't notice that it's been sitting there for two days. 2 days.
Carla says, I struggle with words of affirmation. And then later on he says, I don't like words. Okay.
Okay, that's good.
That's good, man.
That's not an excuse. You need to learn some words or sign language, sign some words of affirmation, learn her love language, whatever. Sourdough, yes. Okay. So guys, be praying for everybody. If you're not coming on June 30th, just be joining us in positive vibes and prayer for June 30th this Saturday. For everybody who's coming, we're so excited for those of you who are going to be there with us, and for those of you who can't be there with us, we're just so grateful. We know you've been tuning in, and thanks for coming alongside us. And we're excited, and we're praying, and we hope cool stories will come out of this. So stay tuned.
All right.
All right.
All right,
Have
guys.
a good night.
See you later.
Bye.